Welcome everybody to this week's OneDoor Studios update. Today we have Tay Centineo back with us again, our development director, and our most direct contact with Ann Peacock, our screenwriter. Of course, that brings us immediately to the question that everybody's been asking through messages on Facebook and emails to us: is what about this writer strike? How does that affect you guys? What's been going on with that? And so we wanted to give you as much of a comprehensive explanation of the writer strike as possible. We did talk with our attorney this week to get all the details about what can and can't be done during writer strike and how it affects us. So I'll let Tay do the majority of the talking today, but first I want Tay just to explain, first of all, what is this writer strike about? And two, why does OneDoor Studios have to actually comply with some of these things in the strike?
Yeah. So I'll go even a step back and talk a little bit about what exactly the writer's strike is for anybody who may be curious. Generally speaking, there's an agreement called an MBA, a minimum basic agreement between the Writers Guild of America, WGA, and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the AMPTP. These agreements, the MBAs, they last 3 years, and then they open up again for renegotiation. And this is because as the years go by, naturally, things change. The economy shifts, values change, cost of living, our industry reshapes, something like streaming is introduced. Everything is always shifting. So they want to keep these agreements as up to date and as fair as possible for everyone, including writers. So this year negotiations were happening. We were at the end of our 3 years. And if the two groups couldn't reach an agreement by the deadline, which was May 1st, then the writers officially go on strike. And that's what happened. So they're officially now on strike. And during said strike, the WGA lists out sort of a set of very specific rules for its members, its writers, as well as for companies like ours who are WGA signatories. So rules such as writers shall not provide writing services of any kind on any project, past, current, future, pending, any of it. Writers during this time don't pitch projects or develop projects with producers. They don't negotiate or strike deals on anything. Generally, the producer and company contact with writers in general is frowned upon itself. So it sort of freezes active development right where it sits with those writers. In terms of why the writers are striking this time, there's a lot of different reasons. A big one being AI, which is, I think, super interesting. And for anybody who's curious about that, I would highly recommend looking into it. We're seeing a rise in the use of AI, including in our industry, to do things like creating artwork and even writing scripts.
Let me stop you right there real quick, Tay. So that AI factor is a very interesting thing because Daniel Cobb, our awesome chief marketing officer, he started introducing AI to some of our development process, namely in the creation of concept art. Perhaps haven't storyboarded yet, but Dan, talk a little bit about that, and I want to piggyback off you.
The art that's coming out of AI is ridiculously good. We've been using it to conceptualize and visualize what the film looks like, how Joe looks at the world and sees numbers. And so we're getting, we've got hundreds of artists and investors now in our Discord community. If you go to the website at wego.one and you click on co-create, you can go in there yourself and you can see there are now 1,000 pieces of art, and it's incredible. So we're getting calls. And of course, the media wants to talk to us about how AI is writing. And we're like, well, no, we're doing art. That's all we're doing right now is art. Yeah. Why would we use AI for writing when we've got Ann Peacock?
Right.
So that's kind of the question people want to learn.
There was an article that came out in CBS Market Watch. Was it that what it was? So CBS Market Watch came out with an article, and it was called writers striking because they don't want AI to take over their jobs. So some title was something like that. And it talked about that in the article. And at the end of the article, it cited OneDoor Studios, and they interviewed us. And although we explicitly told them we're not using AI for writers, like why would we use AI? Because we already have Ann Peacock. They said in there that we were using AI for writing, and we're not. We were using AI for, like we said, storyboard art, conceptual art. And the crazy thing about that is sometimes we'd spend a month with an actual artist going back and forth on one picture to get some concept. And with AI, you can get it in minutes.
Minutes. We were seeing pictures of Red come in, and of course, AI thinks it's Confucius, adding the beard, and you've got this wise old sage in the prison there. So Nova comes into the community and says, well, in China, you don't see many beards like that today. That's an old idea of what the sage looks like. Can we see him without a beard? Less than 3 minutes later, we see Red now appear in the feed, and it's him, but without the beard. And he looks more like a modern day sage. The artists are just moving so quickly with these technologies and giving us visions of what it can look like. It's real time.
Yeah, they give them verbal prompts, and off the verbal prompts, like, at the speed of a computer, there are changes, and new, pretty mature, spectacular art comes out. It's amazing.
So, I mean, all this stuff is wonderful for our investors, but they want to know what's going on with Calculated. What can we and can't we do during this strike? It's really important information for them. So, the short of it is there's not a lot we can do right now with writers, but let's walk us through that, Tay.
Yeah. So, well, and Stephen, I don't know if you can do this, but it would be great to link some resources that I can send over that break down the strike, the demands and the responses, the rules. If the investors are curious in knowing the specifics, like we have all of that information. So that would be awesome. In terms of, well, number one, how long this will last. Obviously, nobody knows the answer to that question. There are predictions, some more optimistic than others. The more optimistic say, it could be a matter of weeks, because they feel, very excited and very pressured to get this done. The pessimistic outlook would be, into fall. In terms of how it affects OneDoor, well, it affects us in the same way that it affects every other production company and studio and streamer. OneDoor Studios is a WGA signatory, which means that we do need to abide by these rules. Now, we're a WGA signatory because that benefits and legitimizes us as a company. It opens up access for us to make sure that we are working with high-level writers, and because we are a WGA signatory, these rules now apply to us. So
we wouldn't have gotten Anne, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. We would not have gotten Anne if we weren't a WGA signatory, right?
Yeah, I mean that would have been. It's very difficult, and they tend to want to really only work with companies that are signatories. So that was why we did that, and it was by a long shot a good move. We don't want to operate any other way, in my opinion. Now, in terms of Calculated, we knew this strike was coming. We knew it was possible, and then we knew it was very possible, and then we knew it was likely. So we went into overdrive, and so did Anne. And she worked really, really hard, and she turned a new draft of the script around in 4 weeks, which is much less than the time that would have been allocated for her. So we're actually technically, if we want to get technical with it, we are ahead of time on that. And so now, while the writers are on strike, we as the producers will take the time to really comb through this latest draft, to work through our notes and our thoughts so that when the strike lifts, we're ready to roll and can fire on all cylinders. So that's where a lot of our focus will go for Calculated now, is taking the time, right, and not feeling rushed to do this right and to nail it all down and to get every little thing that we want straight and elevated. Outside of that script in particular, because Stephen is right, there's very little we can do in terms of actual writing on the script. So yes, so the notes for Calculated will be a big focus of ours. The development team will be working, and I assume very closely with Dan, who's sort of spearheading this content creation, the artwork, to create really awesome lookbooks. Visual aids essentially built out of the artwork that Dan is talking about, that will sort of serve as supplementary to the script when we're ready to go out with it to directors, producers, etc. And the goal of that, right, is to create a very clear visual picture of the vision of Nova, of us, of the investors, so that, when someone is reading the script, they're envisioning what we are. And they can see the world as we've kind of laid it out. So there is no shortage of work to be done right now. And while nobody ever wants a strike to happen, the silver lining is it gives us a chance to get ahead in a lot of other developmental areas. So we will use this time to our absolute advantage, and I will make sure of that. So we're good.
You will crack the whip.
I will
And
crack the
we
whip.
will respond.
We will.
That's, that is your job.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Oh, that's
Tay,
awesome.
you left me kind of speechless, Tay, because I'm like, hey, usually I'm thinking of questions that the investors might want to know afterwards, and I'm like, that was really thorough. So
Good.
high five.
Good.
Way to go. So I guess
Good.
that was so good. So what we'll do is this video will be, and it's on YouTube. So please, first of all, subscribe, like the video, but then throw your questions
Yes.
into the comment section of this video in case we didn't cover something that was on your mind as an investor. Please do that, and we'll be happy to comment. We'll keep Tay busy answering those comments. But that was a great job, man. Great job, Tay. Really appreciate that.
Of course.
And go online to and hop in, take a look at what we're doing art-wise, and even participate. It's a lot of fun.
Go to wego. Once again, we're kind of hammering that new wego.one website, which is kind of the overarching brand arm for OneDoor Studios and for MyStream, if you know about that. If you go there, you can click on the Go Create. Is that what it says? Is that what the button is?
Go create.
Yeah, Go
You
Create.
go co-create, and it's our co-creation community. That's it's crowd-funded and crowd-created films.
Yep. And
Awesome.
if for those of you who are calculated investors who don't know about it, calculated sequels is currently live on our website, and we've cracked $1 million last week. About 1,025,026,000 right now with 700 something investors. So get on there and become one of the team for calculated sequels. Somebody actually asked me directly in an email about this writer strike. You know, first of all, did Anne get a script in time for the strike? The answer was yes. Second question was, is she interested in writing the subsequent? In other words, are you going to have this long, drawn-out process to find a writer again? And the answer is no, not a long, drawn-out process, because she's already expressed interest. No contract signed yet, but she has expressed interest, which means she loves what's going on with this series. So
It does.
that's all I got for today, guys. Anything else?
Not for
That's
me.
it.
All right, awesome. Put your questions there in the comments below, and we'll get back to you. Guys, have a great day. Be blessed.